President Trump defiant and confident in the face of mounting legal and political problems, swinging back at his critics and shrugging off calls for impeachment. But today, another potentially damaging development. Federal prosecutors this afternoon granting immunity to the guy in charge of the National Enquirer. His name is, say it with me, David Pecker. The feds reportedly want to find out what he knows about the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels and former Playboy playmate Karen McDougal. As you recall, on Tuesday, the president's former attorney and fixer, Michael Cohen, pleaded guilty to campaign finance violations. Cohen claims then-candidate Trump directed him to pay off the women. The president's legal team has maintained those payments are not a crime. The president cannot be indicted. And today on Fox and Friends, the president himself blasted Cohen for flipping.
This whole thing about flipping, they call it. I know all about flipping. For 30, 40 years, I've been watching flippers. Everything's wonderful, and then they get 10 years in jail, and they flip on whoever the next highest one is, or as high as you can go. It almost ought to be outlawed. It's not fair. If somebody defrauded a bank and he's going to get 10 years in jail or 20 years in jail, but if you can say something bad about Donald Trump and you'll go down to 2 years or 3 years, which is the deal he made.
He's got more flippers than a pinball machine. He's flipping like Simone Biles. I got a million of them. So is the pressure getting to the commander-in-chief? According to him, not at all.
Well, it's part of my life. I guess my whole life has been this way. Somebody said, oh, gee, this is always such controversy. And I don't know, I've always had controversy in my life, and I've always succeeded. I've always won. I've always won. It was controversial when I ran, and I won. And now the country is doing better than it's ever done.
He needs controversy the way babies need milk. How worried should he be, and what is his best defense at this point? Joining me now, former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Vinoo Varghese. Welcome to the show, Vinoo.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about this immunity deal for David Pecker. What exactly does this mean, and is there legal peril here for the president?
Well, the government decided there were bigger fish to fry than Mr. Pecker, so they gave him a deal, immunity, in order to cooperate to help bring down Michael Cohen and presumably Donald Trump. So basically he can't be prosecuted for what he had done, because what he had done, but he basically committed wire fraud and potentially was a co-conspirator in committing campaign finance fraud as well.
But does the money have to come from the campaign in order to be a campaign finance violation?
Not necessarily. I
really?
think it's what it was done for. So if it was really money from the campaign.
If you don't want skeletons from your closet to emerge right before an election, and you pay people to be quiet, that is a crime.
Because it's there to benefit the campaign. Of course, you just have to declare it.
What if it's just there to keep you from being embarrassed?
If they declared it, it wouldn't be a crime.
I know, but that's a funny thing. People keep saying that. But I can't imagine when you're submitting these forms to the FEC how you put payments to a loose-lipped porn star. How do you line item that?
I think, lawyers would have to get creative over there.
I think they did get creative. I think that might be part of the problem.
I like what you said. I like what you said. I think that's the way to have put it, Look, here's the thing. It's the fact that obviously it was designed, there's some timing issues here. Trump had momentum in 2016, right? James Comey had made the announcement. These payments were after the announcement about the about what Hillary Clinton had done and how reckless she was. So Trump had momentum. These things would have killed the momentum. And that's what these payments were made for. Trump
had momentum October 28th. He did not have momentum July 5th, and that's when James Comey made his first announcement. And those payments were reportedly made in the summer. Let's talk a little bit about flippers, because the president, he doesn't like dolphins, he doesn't like people flipping, and no one likes anyone who's going to flip on them. If you feel you have been loyal to someone and they have been loyal to you, and then they're going to betray you, that is one of the worst feelings in existence. However, when someone flips on your opponent, it's the greatest thing in the world, isn't it?
Well, I think there's a problem here. Interestingly enough, President Trump has highlighted a certain problem within the federal system. Snitching, that's the term that we use. That's the term that's often on the street, snitching or flipping.
I know
Whichever term
who
you want to
Bear
use,
is.
right? You can use either of those terms. The thing is that the whole federal criminal system is built on snitching. All these investigations, these long-term investigations, are built on people flipping above themselves on whatever hierarchy they are, whether it's a drug gang or or cartel,
Criminal informants.
whatever it is. That's what the whole system is bent on. So when the president talks about outlawing, you can't do that. You wouldn't be able to bring down large-scale organizations without it. He does highlight a problem, though, because in the federal system, there's almost this thing, once somebody becomes a federal cooperator, that they're above lying. That's just not true, right? So it's interestingly enough,
criminal informants are some of the most questionable people in the legal system. But look at someone like Brian Pagliano, who was working with Hillary Clinton, who helped her scrub her email servers. Someone like that is given immunity, and nothing really comes of it. Like there was really no purpose in granting him immunity because, she's not locked up, is she, Vinoo?
Well, no. I mean, it's not about Hillary Clinton. It's about whether
it's always about Hillary Clinton.
Well, for certain people on this network, yes, absolutely, right? It's always about Hillary. But let's talk about whether Donald Trump was involved. Michael Cohen went into court. He was sworn in, and he said that he did this at the behest of Donald Trump. I mean, he's admitted to committing a crime, and he said, obviously, they didn't name Trump in person, but he was obviously the candidate. His lawyer went on later on to confirm that. That's what this is about. So interestingly enough, Donald Trump is highlighting a problem that snitches are almost immune from lying, but he's doing so in a very self-serving way.
Of course.
The difference is, what's interesting is as a defense lawyer, you don't have the bully pulpit. Yeah. Years ago, or when Preet Bharara was U.S. attorney, he would use the bully pulpit and basically create an atmosphere where defendants couldn't get a fair trial. And he was criticized for doing that by multiple judges.
I don't know. Everyone remembers defense attorneys. Everyone knows Jose Baez and Robert Kardashian. No one knows Marsha Clark.
No, everybody knows. Everybody knows the prosecutors when they make certain announcements, right?
Vinoo,
everybody knows who
I
Jeff
have to
Sessions
go, but I love talking this legal strategy with you. I think it's quite fascinating. I hope you come back soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, whether the president likes it or not,